guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the CT Outdoorsman. Today we are talking about scouting summertime whitetails. So I am back here right behind my house, right back this way, and I am going to take you guys up towards my hunting grounds here. I'm going to pull down a camera. We're going to swap out the cards there, and then we're going to move that camera to a new spot. But this video, I just kind of want to talk to you guys about what to look for when you're, say, scouting a new piece of property or trying to understand how the deer are using a property. And really how to basically start that is, sorry, I just swallowed a bug. The best way to understand that is to understand a deer's biology. So basically, deer are pretty simple creatures, and so during the summer what they're gonna need is bedding, food, water, and that's really it for the summertime. Yeah, is bedding. What they really need is bedding, food, and water. And I'm fortunate so that this property that I hunt, that we have, has all that, and so the deer like to hang around here, especially during the summer months. So I'm going to take you back here, and so if you have a property and you know it has, good bedding, a food source, and water, now the next idea is figuring out how the deer are using the property. Where are the deer? And that can be done in a lot of ways. You can find a lot of different sign, and it's not always going to be very obvious. So the first and most obvious way that you're going to know if you have deer on your property and how they're using the property is actually seeing the deer. So you go out and you scout and you bump some deer off the property or out of a certain area. You know that they're using that particular area. Pretty easy. I would say the next easiest would be tracks. We'll be looking at tracks. Now, most deer hunters know, or I should say most people in the United States know, what a deer track looks like, except for maybe people out on the West Coast. But here in the Northeast, deer are everywhere. So people are used to seeing them eat their gardens, or they've seen them out when they were running on a trail in the woods or whatever. So we know basically what deer tracks look like. And so we're getting up on my camera here. But so we're gonna look at just other signs of deer that maybe aren't more obvious. And one that I like to look for, personally for me, is looking at breeding activity. So most people know that the breeding season for a whitetail deer is usually between the end of October all the way up till December. So basically the whole month of November is their breeding season. Now, breeding season for whitetail deer is going to vary from state to state and region to region. So here in the Northeast, and mostly for the northern latitudes of the United States, it's going to be somewhere around November is going to be the rut, or their breeding season. And they're going to make specifically the bucks, or the male deer, are going to make basically signposts saying, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to breed. And one of those examples of that is actually right here. This, if you guys can see, is an old rutting tree. Now, it's a very thin little sapling. It's probably about, I would say, 1 inch in diameter. But as you can tell by the branches, it is just all tore up and twisted off and rubbed off. The bark's missing. Now, what the buck will come in and do is rub his antlers basically all up onto this tree, and he'll bite and chew and twist all these branches off. And basically what he's doing is leaving signs for does saying, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to breed. And then he's also leaving signs for other bucks saying, stay out of my territory. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that deer have glands all over their bodies. So they have actually glands basically right at the base of their antlers, and then so when you see them rubbing their heads on it, they're leaving that scent there, and then they'll leave their saliva and other spit on these branches too, and so basically leaving their scent. Now, deer will do other things too. They'll scrape up the ground, called a scrape, and then they'll pee in it. I've seen some deer actually rub their heads in it. I've only seen it twice, but I've seen them do that before. But they will do other things. They have glands on the back of their feet. They'll rub those together and actually pee on them, and then so that scent is all on the ground. Now, really, those signs, unless you know what you're looking for, you're probably gonna miss. Other things that really are gonna stand out are gonna be, wow, that sunlight is terrible. Sorry about that. So other things that you guys are gonna notice or that you may pick up on is browsing. Now, a lot of people know when a deer has been eating their garden. I know from my mom, the deer love her hostas, so she's actually moved them closer to the house to try and keep the deer off of them, and it's worked. But you can tell when a deer has been browsing in an area, and there's actually an area right up here that has some good browsing that I'm going to show you guys. But first, we're going to grab this camera right over here that I have set up kind of on this opening, this basically a flat that I actually scraped up. I scraped up all the leaves and everything to try and bring up some undergrowth, and it's looking pretty good right now. There's some small little trees coming up and some undergrowth, so we'll see how that goes. But it was really just an experiment to see what the growth was going to look like. So as you guys can see, here's my trail camera. It's a little Wild Game Innovations thing. I will say this camera is a great scouting. Where is it? There it is. Is a great scouting tool for when you're not in the woods. So if you don't want to overpressure an area, leaving a camera in here is a great method for seeing out what the deer like to do. Now with this camera, it's angled downward. So I've checked the card already, probably about 2 weeks ago, and it had squirrels, fox, there was coyote on it, and deer. So it's picking up a lot of stuff, and so for this, I believe it's like a $40 or $50 camera. For that price range to have that kind of trigger sensitivity, it's awesome. Picture quality is not that good, but I'm not a photographer, I'm a hunter, so I just really need to know when the deer are in here and baseline of what they're looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this camera down off around the tree, and we'll get moving on to the next spot that I'm going to talk to you guys about. Alright, here we go. It's got 80 pictures. Swap this out. Good. Alright, so we're back up here in this flat that I actually hunt the far corner of, but we're going to go over there in a minute. But I just wanted to come back to you guys and show you what browsing looks like. So a lot of people are familiar with these planes right here. It's just a regular basically I call them pricker bushes because, you know, they have the spines on them. Let's see if I can see. And not a lot of people would think that the deer would eat these, but they actually do. So if you look right at the tip, right, it's bitten off, and a lot of these bushes in here, they're all the same bush, but they're all nipped off. Now, doing a little bit of research and you know, understanding what deer like to browse on, I learned that these bushes are actually a great source of nutrients for the deer when they're young. So, as everybody knows, a plant doesn't really grow from the bottom up, it blooms up from the top. Now, when looking at these plants, the bases of them are really stiff and they're really hard and they've got hard spines on them. But the tips of them are actually very, very soft. And what that means for the deer is that they're very palatable, meaning that the deer can bite them off and chew on them without really any problems whatsoever. And so it's a very good, which means that it's basically like a dinner bell to the deer, saying, hey, there's good palatable forage over here. And so the deer come in, and I mean, I'm looking at all these bushes right in here, and as you can see, right, there's a whole bunch of them just all kind of in here. They're all nipped off. And so, I mean, that comes every year with the spring growth. They get up a certain height, and then the deer come in, they nip them off, and they'll keep growing up, and the deer will probably come in and just keep kind of nipping them off and working them. And then so that's something else that if you're scouting a new property, you can look for. So if you're in an area that's got a lot of low bushes that have the tops nipped off, you know that the deer are in there foraging for the food. They're searching for that very palatable plant for them to eat. Now, so you found the forage, and you've got your trail cameras, and say you've got them hung, and you've got them in different places, but you're just not getting a variety of pictures. You know, you might be getting this kind of the same deer kind of moving through that area through the time. Now, there's a couple things when scouting deer that you can use to your advantage to help you get more pictures and to help you kind of figure out where those deer are. And those are two kind of big things that I like to use, and that's playing on I'll call it the topography of the hunting area, and also what the deer needs. So the one thing that the deer need, especially in the spring, are minerals. Now, here in the state of Connecticut, the lower zones are allowed to bait during the season. Now, bait being placing out corn or other attractants for the deer to eat. Now, in my zone, we're not allowed to do that during the season. However, I contacted my local wildlife official, talked to them about placing supplemental minerals during the closed season, asking if that was a legal practice, and they said it is. And so, the start of this year, I placed some minerals out on an old log, and I'll tell you what, man, the deer have just destroyed it. I've got some pictures that I'll probably put in here at the end, but I'm using Pop's Loose Moose mineral. They're based in Michigan. They're a great mineral. Definitely check them out, because I mean, I placed that mineral on that log, I want to say in March, and the first card pull that I had 601 photos on that camera. So I actually had to go in and set the delay on the camera to 2 minutes instead of 1 minute, just so that I would get less pictures. And this last card pull that I did, I had 230 pictures on. So this stuff works. And it's minerals like calcium, zinc, magnesium, things like that the deer need. And so what that does for the deer is for the does, it helps them produce a strong, healthy milk for when they're lactating for their fawns. And then for the bucks, it helps with antler growth. So I'm helping out the deer herd by promoting better antler growth, and then helping the does produce better milk for their fawns, so their fawns grow up bigger, stronger, and quicker. So we'll head over here and we'll take a look at that site, and then I'm going to talk to you about where I'm going to put my other camera that you just saw me pull down, and we'll talk about how using the topography of the land can help you get more pictures of deer. So let's go. Alright guys, so I am back here at my little mineral station, and as you guys can see right down here, I've got this old rotten out log. Now the nice thing about using a rotten out log and not pouring the minerals directly on the ground is that if you look at this log, right, it's spongy is what it is. And you know, I talked to the owner of Pop's Loose Moose, and he said that using a spongy log allows for the mineral to soak into the wood so that the deer come back and it stays longer, whereas putting it into the ground, it soaks into the ground, so the deer will paw at the ground, but eventually the mineral will be unreachable for the deer. So that mineral helps stay longer in that rotten log, and keeps the deer coming back more frequent. Now I've got my camera right over on that tree right over there. You probably can't see it, but you know, it's set on 2-minute delays, and I try and check the cameras about once a month because I don't like to overpressure this property. It's a small piece of property, and I like to stay out of here as best that I can. Now, not every state is going to be the same with putting out minerals for whitetails. Again, I wasn't sure, so I checked with my local game officials, asking if it was a legal practice to place supplementary minerals during the closed season, and they said that is completely fine. It just, in this zone, cannot be around when the season opens. So probably near the end of August, I'll come in, I'll take that log out, and there will be no signs of minerals left. But as of right now, I've got one more treatment of minerals that I'll put to that log. I'll probably put it on probably around the end of July, so it'll have about a month to sit in. The deer will come in, and then probably that last weekend in August, I'll come up, grab that log, and take it out of here. And once the season closes again, I'll probably come back in February or March, whenever the last snow is out of here, and I'll put a new log in and start putting minerals out again. So that's another great way to kind of survey your deer herd and see what they're doing and what kind of deer are on your property. Like, for example, I didn't know I had the number of bucks on this property that I do. I have right now, I think, 4 or 5 different bucks on camera. I've got a number of does, and so it also helps me kind of develop a strategy for this upcoming season. So my strategy is going to be to come in early, probably take 1 or 2 does out of here, kind of bring the doe population down, and then I like to try and practice good management. So I'll probably let the younger deer with good potential go, but then really anything over 3.5 is probably going to get an arrow when it comes by. There are a couple deer last year that I had my eye on. One of them is Junior. Yes, I named my deer, but Junior, he's a big 9. I'm pretty sure he's back. And then there's another, I believe he's a 7-pointer that I had an encounter with last year but couldn't get a shot on because there was just too much brush. But so if he comes back, which I think he is, he's going to get an arrow because he's definitely at least a 3-year-old this year. I think he might be 4, but only time will tell. And then so this area, once I get this log out of here, my tree stand tree is back that way. It's back that way about, I want to say 20-25 yards, and it's got a pretty good shot coming down. And then in a later video, I'll come in here and talk about, you know, trimming shooting lanes and background camouflage and things like that. But now I'm going to get this camera that I have down here on my side. I'm going to get that hung up on a tree. I'm still trying to decide where I want to put it. I think I'm going to put it over here. So that's going to lead me right into my next segment, I'll call it. But using the topography of your hunting ground to your advantage to help you get more deer. Now here in New England, and I'm sure in more urban areas, we have got rock walls, and you can probably see them right where back here, right? So we've got rock walls as our property borderlines. Now I have permission. I have my land, and then that just over that rock wall, I've got permission on that land and that land back there. And I've talked to the landowners who own this property over here. They're not comfortable with me putting a stand back there, but they did say I could shoot over the wall, or if a deer ever goes back there, just give them a call and they'll, just so they know that I'm walking back there. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang a camera right in a break of the rock wall. Now deer are very, very lazy animals, so they will take the easiest route possible, and around here with probably 4-foot tall rock walls, they don't want to expend the energy to jump over them, so they're going to look for areas where the wall's knocked down a little bit or completely gone, which right over here it's completely gone. And I've seen deer walk through there. I had a camera over there last year, and I got some pictures of of a really good buck. It was actually Junior who was walking right over there. So I'm going to put that camera over there and just kind of get a movement. So I've got these two cameras here, and the reason that they're so close together is because I know some deer don't like to come into the minerals for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. But so I'm going to put that camera over there, and then once that is set up, I've got another camera that is way back down there, down in a valley. It's on basically another break in a wall that I've seen big bucks cross over all the time. And so there's bedding down there. There's a lot of browse, and there's water. There's a natural spring that comes up down there. So I like to try and leave that area alone. I'll probably go in middle of this month, check that camera once, and then I'll leave it alone till the season. But so we'll get going over here, set up that camera, and then we'll get out of here. So here we go. Alright guys, so we're back here. I've got the hole in the wall right in front of me, and I can already see there's a bunch of tracks going through it. So I know the deer are still using this area. I'm going to set the camera up right in this tree right here, pointing at a downward angle, so I should get good pictures of the deer and probably whatever else uses this opening. So I gotta imagine there's going to be coyotes, foxes, maybe a bobcat or two, and then I wouldn't be surprised if the local neighborhood kids come walking through here, because I've seen them before in here. So, but yep. So I'm going to get this camera hung, and then we are going to get out of here. Alright guys, well, that's all that I planned on coming up here to do. It's the beginning of July. Today's the 5th, so happy Independence Day to all of us out there, and thank you to the men and women of our armed services giving their lives to protect our country. Special shout out to my sister Marie. She's a Air Force veteran, and to my brother-in-law Bill. He's also a veteran. And just remember that when you're scouting for summertime deer, the best thing to do is try and keep a low profile. So don't go into areas that are very active during the rut. Kind of leave those areas alone, and then utilize trail cameras. I've got 3 running right now on probably 27 acres. So I mean, not as many as I'd like, but I pretty much know this area like the back of my hand, so I know where the deer like to travel, and I've got these areas pretty much picked out, and I know how the deer like to use them. Probably coming up, I might do some 3D shoots. If you guys noticed, I had another camera going. I took the plunge and got a GoPro Hero Session, so I'll be using that this season as a second angle camera for you guys, and then also to help me out with filming other activities, maybe such as some fishing or bow fishing if I end up doing that this summer, which I think I will. I'm not 100% sure. I got to find the carp first. And again, if you're planning on using, if you plan to try and utilize minerals, check your local game laws first. Like I said twice already now, but I'm going to say it a third time. I checked with my local game wardens, asking them, because I know I can't have minerals out during the season in this part of Connecticut, but I asked if it was okay during the closed season to have them out, and they said yes. So I have my mineral log out here. I'll probably treat it one more time with minerals, and then probably end of August I'll pick up that log and get it out of here, just so I'm not violating any game laws. But so until the next episode, guys, introduce someone new to the outdoors, whether it's hiking, fishing, shooting, anything, and always stay ready, and I'll see you guys right back here on the next episode.